Good morning, Housing Board of Directors. Over to you, Chair Harrington.
Microphone on. Good morning, everyone, to the February 3rd, 2026 Washington County Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. Clerk Hodges, could you please do us the honors and take roll?
Certainly. The Board of Commissioners for Washington County is convening as the Housing Authority Board of Directors regular meeting on February 3rd, 2026. Director Savara?
Present. Thanks.
Director Fye?
Present.
Director Snyder?
Here.
Director Treese?
Here.
Director Harrington?
Here. Director Willie is excused for a couple of weeks. So we have 5 of the Housing Authority Board of Directors. So our next item on the agenda is public communication. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and share their thoughts with the Housing Authority Board of Directors on any topic you would like. But since this is the Housing Authority, it's probably going to be housing related. Do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
There were not any sign-ups before the meeting. Is there any member in the auditorium who wishes to provide public comment to the Housing Authority on any housing-related topic for up to 2 minutes? Please raise your hand and come forward. I do not see any hands. Director Harrington, is there anyone online on Zoom that wishes to provide public comment to the Housing Authority? I'll give you a moment to use the raise hand function. I do not see any hands. Director Harrington.
Thank you. Seeing no one, we'll move on then to today's consent agenda, which consists of one item, the approval of the minutes for our December 2nd, 2025 meeting. What are the wishes of the Board of Directors?
Move to approve the minutes from the December, actually.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we'll move on to the action items. We have 2 action items today. The first of which is to approve a pre-development loan of up to $2,500,000 to the Forest Grove Permanent Supportive Housing Project. And I'll turn it over to our Deputy Director, Jill Chen, and our Real Estate Division Manager, Lisa Varon. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Thank you, Lisa. Take it away, please.
Thank you. And good morning, Chair Harrington and directors. I am Jill Chen, your Deputy Director of the Housing Authority, and with me is Lisa Varon. I use she, her pronouns, and today we're going to be talking about the Forest Grove Permanent Supportive Housing Project. This is an important step in addressing homelessness in Washington County, and today we'll be asking for your approval. As a little bit of a background, I want to ensure that when we talk about this project project being funded by Metro Affordable Housing bonds from their interest earnings. It is not, however, part of our Metro intergovernmental agreement or the metrics included in that. This is in addition to what we've already presented to you in the past. So let's start with the discussion. Today we will have a short overview of the project, its purpose, its public benefits. I'll cover some of the project background, partners, and Lisa will walk through the current status, pre-development, timeline, and our recommended action. As sort of background, I also want to emphasize that we had come to the county commissioners before to seek approval for this, for the use of the Metro Permanent Supportive Housing Funds back in, I think, over a year ago. So this is a refresher in some ways. And this is for the site at Pacific Avenue. Okay. The site is located at 3127 on Pacific Avenue in Forest Grove, and it is right at the intersection where the highway opens up. It is currently the Jim's Auto Shop, and we are planning to have up to 60 apartment homes for permanent supportive housing for individuals and couples exiting homelessness. This project is unique in its culturally specific services, which is being delivered in partnership with Central Cultural. Its location is close to transit jobs, community, and community amenities. This includes the community center that Central currently operates for the city. The purpose of this Forest Grove supportive housing is to provide, as I mentioned, the 60 units that will promote housing stability, reduce chronic homelessness in Forest Grove and its surrounding areas. Beyond housing, this project advances equity by offering culturally specific services. There will be case management as well as wraparound services and providing tools for our residents. Take a quick look at the project's development. We have been involved in this project for a while. This project was first submitted to Oregon Housing and Community Services as part of their Permanent Supportive Housing Institute in 2024. We had joined with Central Cultural and Care Oregon, and the purpose was to promote best practices as well as qualify the project for potential funding. We had looked at a lot of due diligence, signed the purchase and sale agreement in early 2025, and purchased the property towards the end of December last year. This included geotech as well as confirming the site readiness and to mitigate the project's risk going forward. I will now hand it over to Lisa Varon.
Thanks, Jill. Currently, due diligence is complete for our purchase, and we're preparing key funding applications. These will include a 9% low-income housing tax credit, or LIHTC, application to the Oregon Housing and Community Services. PSH rental support and service subsidies would accompany that request. At the same time, we'll also apply to Metro for remediation funding for any remediation that might be needed for the former auto body shop use. And at the same time, we've started pre-development activities such as design feasibility, legal entity formation, and engaging consultants for financing and early planning. So let's take a look at the specific pre-development activities underway. It's not. There we go.
The other way.
There. Okay, great. You got to hit that button really hard. Pre-development activities are critical to keep us on schedule. They include Sarah Architects conducting feasibility analysis and initial design work, hiring a consulting firm for financing and transaction support, establishing a partnership structure for the LIHTC investment, and selecting service partners, an architect, and a general contractor. We will be back to you next month on the general contractor approach. These steps ensure we're ready to move forward quickly once funding is secured. And now on to the timeline. Oop. Okay. I'm having a hard time with it. There's a little bit of a delicate item here. Okay.
It was that same way Thursday with all kinds of presentations, so don't worry, we're bearing with you.
I'm not alone. Okay, thank you. Community engagement is a priority. In January, the HAWK team, oops, I skipped in my own presentation. Thank you. Here's the project timeline. Early this year, we're focused on pre-development, design, and funding applications. By mid-year, we'll select the architect, general contractor, and finalize service partnerships. Late this year and early next year will be about permitting, contractor bidding, financial closing, and starting construction. And we anticipate completion by probably more early 2028 with lease up in 2028 as well. This is really,
You want me to?
I'll let you do it. There we go. Okay. Community engagement is a priority. In January, the Hawk team presented to Forest Grove City Council, and City Council was supportive of the project. A dedicated project webpage will launch this fall and will host outreach meetings with stakeholders, including the Chamber of Commerce, nearby neighbors, community organizations, and service providers. These efforts will ensure transparency and build community support. So we're here today to ask you to approve the resolution and order authorizing the executive director and deputy director to form entities, support applications for funding, execute required project documents, and provide a pre-development loan of up to $2.5 million to the Forest Grove PSH ownership entity.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for our staff? For those of you online, why don't we go to you first? Director Fye and Director Savaro, any questions or comments? A no would be fine.
Nope. Really supportive of the project. Excited to see the work progressing.
Same here, Chair Harrington.
Here in the room? Well, darn, I'm the only one that's confused. I understand what your presentation has gotten at. I have two questions. The first is, Ms. Chen, if you wouldn't mind coming back to your intro comments about how through Metro, interest earnings from the Affordable Housing Bond are being utilized. Could you repeat what you said back on slide 1 or 2?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Chair Harrington. The funds that we have received from Metro, these were from interest earnings that Metro had that they're allocating to the different local jurisdictions. For our portion, we are using it also for permanent supportive housing. These are the funds that Metro has asked to be dedicated for permanent supportive housing.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That set me straight. My other question doesn't have to be answered today. Ms. Kyle sitting in for Ms. Angie or Ms. Chen, feel free to say we'll take it offline. I was under the impression that for our continuum of care, we had 2 sites where we were building out transitional housing. The Cornell Road site, really focusing on substance use recovery, and a site in Forest Grove. I thought it was this site for more of the mental health recovery and stabilization. So I must be confused, and I just need to ask for help to get unconfused. I'm clear on what it is you've described here today and what you're looking for, but I have a big question mark as I've talked about. How would you like to approach that? Okay.
Sure. I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. The transitional housing projects that we have brought to you before there's 2, like you mentioned, Cornell Road. Through our Department of Housing Services, we are also supporting another transitional housing project with Transcending Hope, and that is in Hillsborough. And that particular financing just closed about a week ago. So Transcending Hope is in the process of moving forward on that transitional housing project. This particular project is permanent supportive housing, so it's a slightly different housing mechanism along that housing homeless spectrum.
Yep, I'm clear on that through today's presentation. Great. Okay, well, I'll have to come back to that project at a different time then, because I'm clearly confused or not clear on that project, which is fine. which is fine. I'm all set for today. All righty, so we have a proposal before us today to approve the resolution and order authorizing the executive director and deputy director to form entities, support applications for funding, and execute required project documents and provide a pre-development loan of up to $2.5 million to the Forest Grove PSH ownership entity. What are the wishes of the board of directors on this matter?
Motion to approve the recommendation as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we'll move on to our second action item. This is in regard to the Brentwood Oaks Apartments. So we'll have our executive director, Molly Rogers, join our team of Jill Chen, deputy director, and Lisa Varon from the real estate division manager. Please take it away.
Morning, Chair and Directors of the Housing Authority. I'm Molly Rogers, your Executive Director of the Housing Authority. We are going to be presenting today on Brentwood Oaks Senior Apartments Limited Partnership for your consideration. This is a preservation-focused action that leverages the Housing Authority's tax abatement opportunity. It strengthens a long-term affordability for seniors and generates modest income for the Housing Authority operations. So let me quickly go over what we'll talk about today. Our path for this presentation is we're going to provide a brief project summary and some additional background information on the partnership we're hoping to forge with Devco, some key partnership terms to establish that partnership, and finally the recommended action for your approval. First, our summary. So Brentwood Oaks is a 78-unit senior apartment community at 3245 Southwest 182nd Avenue in Aloha. These homes are all income restricted at 60% of area median income or below. The property originally was placed in service in 1999 using 4% low-income housing tax credits and home financing, and the affordability has been extended through 2044. The current owner, Devco, purchased the property in 2022. Our goal today is to support that continued affordability and operational stability for these senior households. And now Jill is going to take us through the actual proposal.
Thank you, Molly. As additional background, the Housing Authority was involved in this project. Thank you. The Housing Authority was involved in this project back in 1999 when it was first conceived. We were a general partner and had the right of first refusal to provide for the property, as well as provided a payment in lieu or pilot at that time. But since 2015, the project partnership dissolved, and the Housing Authority itself also exited. Okay. As Molly mentioned, Devco purchased the property in 2022, and OHCS also extended the affordability. Devco also approached Housing Authority just about a year ago to see if we can help them with the operations. And they are looking to improve the operations, increasing revenues, managing their expenses, and the property tax exemption is really being asked to help them stabilize the property long term. Lisa will provide more information about the partnership structure.
We're proposing that Hawk enters as a limited partner in the ownership. The LP role enables us to provide the property tax abatement, which reduces expenses and strengthens the financial position of the property. The outcomes are preservation of long-term senior affordable housing, improved financial stability, and continued compliance and oversight by HOC. We're using limited partner status, which is sufficient for tax exemption in this context. So here are the key terms. The owner will pay a one-time fee to HOC. The owner will pay annual and administrative fees and provides a guarantor for the annual fees should the property not be able to pay them. HOC will not provide any guarantees or take on any financial obligations to the owner, sponsor, investors, or lenders. HOC secures a first right of refusal to purchase the property, and together these protect the authority while ensuring the property benefits from the tax abatement. Based on these terms, here's our requested action. Recommend that Habad approve HOC participation as a limited partner in Brentwood Oaks Apartments, LP, including authorizing the execution of all required documents and instruments, joining the limited partnership, and submitting the property tax exemption application. And that concludes our presentation on this topic. We're available for questions.
And before I turn the floor over to my colleagues, I just want to remark that over the course of the 7 years that I've been serving on the Housing Authority Board of Directors as well as on the Washington County Board of Commissioners, we, in those dual boards, have had the opportunity to learn from all of you and to meet different corporations that are in the space of multifamily housing, whether it's for seniors in this case or for other low-income community members. So I have learned of DevCo through you and different events that we've had in our work together. So I remember they are a company that has been in this space for quite some time, though on that prior project they were new to us. And now we have the opportunity for this second project, enabling us to ensure that there will continue to be affordable housing for our seniors here in the Washington County community. So, Board of Directors, do you have any questions? First, we'll do in the room. Director Snyder.
Yeah, real quickly, I saw in some of the materials kind of referenced parallels to the Woodspring situation. You know, the timing seems like it's different, and frankly, the actor that purchased seems to be, or have, at least from my perception of the materials, a different goal. In the Woodspring example, at least the original purchase was made with the intent of, from a private equity firm, of essentially turning it into market rate housing. That, from what I'm seeing here, and this is what I'd like you to contrast, how does that differ, both the timing and DevCo's interest in the long term? I would appreciate just a, given the parallels to Woodspring, explanation there briefly.
Thank you for the question, Director Snyder. There is some difference, as you mentioned, in that in Woodspring, the investor coming in was turning it into market rate. DevCo's background is in affordable housing, so when they purchased it, they were expecting to manage and operate it as affordable housing. Given the market conditions where cost of operations have been quite high and inflation was quite high also, they have not been able to keep up with the raise and increase in rents. So they're being squeezed a little bit. So it's a little bit different here. We are looking at it also as a preservation play in the long run, because we do not want to have DevCo the option to sell at a later date. That's why we're hoping to ensure to have the right of first refusal as well as a potential purchase option. And that, I would mention, is still being negotiated.
Good future proofing.
Director Treese.
Thank you. I just want to say that as we learned through Woodspring and as we continue to learn, the concept of preservation is key as we move forward. And to your point, Director Snyder, it's really important that we keep these operational and functional and that needs to be a priority. And so thank you for your work here. Thank you for your flexibility in working to see how we can maintain this. So I appreciate it, and preservation will continue to be a goal.
Over to you, Directors Fye and Savaro.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I really appreciate the work here and the like Commissioner Snyder said, kind of the future proofing. I'm curious if this is maybe a bit of a out of the box question, but I know we've been seeing a lot about the vacancies issues in affordable housing, and we've also, definitely been hearing more about that compression in the metro area between 60% area median income rates and the market. I'm curious if you all have been able to kind of assess the health of the property from that perspective in terms of vacancy rates, in terms of kind of are we able to get folks that are actually in the units? Could you speak more to that kind of a thing? I'm just thinking about kind of the condition of the market right now as well, and kind of where we're at in general in the metro area.
I just want to step in first and say I have seen media coverage on affordable housing units in the city of Portland and possibly in Multnomah County having high vacancy rates. We here in Washington County, in our multiple capacities as board members, have not seen information on that here in Washington County. Nonetheless, your question still stands to our staff to provide further insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Director Savaro. What we've understood from DevCo in their operations is that there is some vacancy. They are in the process of addressing it. One of the issues is making sure that the folks who are eligible, meaning those who meet the median area income, are able to see this project as being available. So we are working with our different developer and owners of affordable housing properties to help them also market it through our different websites, our newsletters, and all. Washington County has one of the highest rent rates in the whole state. I think we are the highest. So there's a slight difference with Multnomah County, where theirs is a very wide range. Ours is a little bit different in that way.
Thank you for helping me understand that.
And I do want to mention there is, as you mentioned, that compression where 60% and market in some areas are closed. We haven't seen it completely in Washington County yet.
Director Fye, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation, staff. I really appreciate this focus of our, call it our house cleaning, taking care of affordable housing, and making sure that people are housed in a dignified way and that these apartments are rehabilitated and making sure that the health of the buildings are in a good, conducive way. So I really appreciate your work and the different conversations that you're having out there in how to ensure that. I did want to ask two questions on one piece of bullet point that you've had, and this is in regards to the tax abatement. I don't remember you said a number of how much we're foregoing tax abatement of the property. I don't know if you have that number. And then the other part of the question I was wondering is this tax abatement time frame within the 5-year increase? Like, what is the time frame? How long are we foregoing tax abatements for the property? And then how much that is? I didn't want to interpret for myself and say it's just 5 years, but I don't know if you could speak to that.
Great question. So the tax abatement, it will be for as long as Devco is the owner and Hawk is an entity. So it is ongoing. When the Housing Authority enters into the tax abatement, into a deal and asks for a tax abatement, we actually don't have to go for annual renewals as the Housing Authority as part of that with our partners. So it's ongoing, but we will have an annual monitoring process and compliance process with the owner of this property. Additionally, when you take a look at the tax abatement, the amount on an annual basis for Washington County specifically, I think we've estimated around $29,000 a year for Washington County, specifically out of the whole different taxing entities that receive funds, but that will change as the property value changes over time.
Thank you. Lisa, I'm wondering then the question in my head, and it's probably not formulated correctly, but just to process it with you, what is, like, how do you, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm in support. Let's just say this, first of all, I support this. This is a great idea. And I think we need to figure out how do we create incentives mechanisms to really do these types of work and ensure that we're rehabilitating the buildings and people are going to live in a healthy environment. So I do support that. But I am wondering, in terms of accountability mechanisms, since it is ongoing, what do you all recommend for the board to have a touch point in the future? Like, is it a yearly thing that comes to the board, the Housing Authority, to say, we agreed this for ongoing forever, and to, you know, as long as Defco is the owner, but every year, here's the improvements they're doing, here's how they're best utilizing the taxpayers' money, and here's what, you know, the conditions of the building and the residents and the occupancy, all that. Like, I'm trying to figure out, how do we demonstrate accountability as a taxpayers' stewards?
So I would suggest to staff, if you could go to slide 5. This is not a rehabilitation project. Slide 5.
Excuse me, yeah, preservation. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, I want to just respond to that. We are going to be coming, it is in the slides, the ways in which there's accountability for this specific project. We are going to be coming back to the board this spring to talk about the tax exemption program as a whole and our approach as a whole. It is a key tool in our toolbox, as I like to say, all housing all the time. Every way that we can support affordable housing owners and operators to develop, build, and operate affordable housing, we want to do that. We are seeing, you know, huge increases in expenses, particularly things like insurance are going up significantly in the area, and they are not increasing at the rate that rents are increasing. And so that is putting strain on development, affordable housing developments throughout the region, and a tax exemption decreases their expenses and provides some relief from that pressure that they're feeling, and therefore supports the preservation of these deals. And so we have a program as a whole. We have about a dozen properties in this program right now, and we're going to be coming back to you to kind of show it to you as a whole package. But this property has also afforded us the opportunity to put together a term sheet that we can use consistently as we move forward and negotiate with various owner-operators.
Commissioner Fye, we're waiting for
Thank
you
you.
to acknowledge that you have your answers to your question and understand.
Yeah, absolutely, Chair. Thank you, staff.
I would just counsel that when you said development, we often, from our seats, think development as in construction, and what I understand you to refer to is properties versus new construction. So thank you very much. And as for me, for comments, I'm really glad to hear what will be coming to us in the future, because part of what is on my mind is not only the tasks at hand, but looking back in terms of how three of us started in 2019, then Commissioner Fye started, then Commissioner Snyder started. It will really help with a new board of directors with up to 3 new members next year for, as part of their onboarding, to have an understanding of the full portfolio set of the Housing Authority, which ones are funded in what ways, and types of use and so forth. So that portfolio snapshot will be very helpful to understand which ones Hawk owns as a sole entity versus the limited partnerships and so forth, and also those properties that will be coming off of their affordability period as well. So thank you. All right, back to the task at hand. We have a recommendation here through the form of a resolution and order. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the resolution and order in the matter of authorizing the executive director or deputy director to execute all required documents and instruments for Brentwood Oaks Senior Apartments. What are the wishes of the board? Do we have such a motion?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Chair. I move to approve the motion.
And I second that motion, Chair.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And that takes us to our second public comment period for today's meeting. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and address the Housing Authority Board of Directors for up to 5 minutes an individual. Clerk Hodges, do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
Dale Feek would like to make first comment. Go ahead, Dale.
Chair Harrington and Housing Authority Board of Directors, in particular Director Savara. I'm Dale Feek. Started teaching in Forest Grove in 1966 and retired in 2000. So I have a real special interest in this particular project in Forest Grove, up to $2,500,000 for the PSH. I was able to hear this presentation. Also, Commissioner Willie was in the Forest Grove City Council meeting recently, where Jill Shen and Lisa Varman also presented what they presented to you today. So I got a double whammy, which is great. It's always good to hear things twice that are superior things to hear. And also I was concerned because I know Jim Bren personally. He's fixed many of my cars in Jim's Automotive, and he and I have talked about that property and whether he was going to keep that property because he was leasing it, and he finally realized the county's going to buy it and the owner was going to buy it, so he had to vacate all his stuff that he had there, which was a lot of equipment related to cars, because he loved cars from a teenager, and he used that place also to keep his private collection of transmissions and engines and all those things. The reason I say and talk about Jim Bren is because Jim Bren is ethical, still is. He's having health issues. I think he's moved a little bit. And he has a reputation in Forest Grove of only working on your car and repairing it if it actually needs it. And so I've had my son-in-law and other people take their cars there, and they've diagnosed it and found out, no, you don't need a pump. You don't need a water pump. You need a generator, or you need this or that. We will not put something on your car that you don't need. Jim was looking not for the bottom line and profit. He was looking for doing the best service. Now, the reason I say that, I think Jim would be very pleased that this property, which he didn't know when it was going to be sold to the county, was sold, because the people in the housing authority had the same ethical behavior that Jim had. And it's good that this property now is being used, will be used for permanent supportive housing. It's a good location. Metro, the buses go by there, Safeway's near there, and there's also a hospital, clinic that's close to that. So I think it's a very good choice. And Councilor Brian Schimmel from Forest Grove has been involved in the housing supportive stuff for many years. And so he also spoke very highly at the Forest Grove City Council about this project. And maybe I should have said this earlier, because you've already taken action on this. I should have maybe made my comments during 2 minutes. But I'm certainly glad that you did authorize and approve the permanent supportive housing up to $2,500,000 in Forest Grove. So thank you for the decision you made.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Do we have anyone else?
Is there any other member in the auditorium that wishes to provide public comment to the Housing Authority on any housing-related topics for up to 5 minutes? Please raise your hand and start coming forward. Not seeing anyone in the room. Is there any members online via Zoom wish to provide public comment to the Housing Authority? I'll give you a moment to utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Back to you, Director Harrington.
Thank you. And that ends our second public comment period for today's meeting. Next, we have board announcements. I don't have any for the Housing Authority Board of Directors. Do any other directors have anything you wish to share and announce at this juncture? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the February 3rd, 2026 Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. We're hereby closing the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. We'll take a 5-minute break before we convene in the Board of Commissioners' regular business meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. We are now live. Over to you, Chair Harrington.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 Washington County Board of Directors Business Meeting. Clerk Hodges, could you do us the honors, please?
Certainly. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, also meeting as all other county service districts, is meeting in regular session on February 2nd, 2026. Commissioner Snyder?
Here.
Commissioner Treese?
Here.
Commissioner Fye?
Present.
Chair Harrington?
Here.
And Commissioner Willie is excused today.
Thank you. Would everyone in the room please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we have consideration for our consent agenda, which consists of the set of minutes from our January 20th, 2026 meeting.
Excuse me, Chair Harrington.
Oh,
we should have
public communication. Sorry about that. Thank you very much.
And we do have one sign up for the 2-minute portion of the public comment. Dale Feek.
Welcome, Mr. Feek. Please go ahead once you're seated.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. Dale Feek. What Kevin is passing out is what I sent you already in email. I just want to summarize it. I also went where you went, Chair Harrington, to the meeting at Pacific University in which Attorney General Dan Rayfield and Senator Solomon and Representatives McLean and Sosa did a town hall meeting, and it was moderated by the Superintendent of Public Schools, Suzanne West. It was very informative. I also talked with Jeffrey Dalen. If you noticed on here, I CC this to the Winslow, the mayors and councilors of Forest Grove, Hillsborough, Beaverton, and talking to Dalen, which I've talked with many times before. Somebody asked, why aren't you sending to me too? So I'm including him in my emails now. So he'll be receiving CCs too. Now, this topic is the energy crisis in Oregon. The Oregonian I support, I really do, because they have some of the best investigative journalists, I think, in the United States, certainly in Oregon. And they've done extensive work analyzing the energy crisis. And they did a 4-part series, and they're listed there. And then they also, Mike Rogaway wrote something called COTEC Names Panel to Study Data Centers Impact. Huge tax breaks are not on the agenda. That was supposed to be in big print for the Oregon legislators and also for the government affairs people that you send down to lobby. They really need to take a look at that because the tax breaks are inappropriate. They shouldn't get that much money, and it's not fair to school districts and other people that need that money. So please rethink what your government affairs do when they do at the legislature and try to lobby to make sure that those data centers don't get those huge tax breaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Do we have anyone else today?
That was all for the signups before the meeting. Is there anyone in the auditorium that wishes to provide public comment for up to 2 minutes on any county-related topics? Give you a moment to raise your hand and start coming forward. Not seeing anyone, Chair Harrington. Is there anyone online via Zoom that wishes to provide public comment on any county-related topic? Give a moment to utilize raise hand function. There are none, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Board Clerk. Next, we'll move on to today's consent agenda, which consists of 4 items. The set of minutes from our January 20th, 2026 meeting, 2 items from Land Use and Transportation, and 1 item from the Board of Commissioners. What are the wishes of the board regarding today's consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. Next, we have a proposal to appoint members to the Washington County Planning Commission. It is a proposal to reappoint Rachel Maury Bodeau to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring January 31, 2030, and to appoint Andrea D'Amico to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring January 31 of 2030. What are the wishes of the commission regarding today's appointment?
I move to approve the appointments as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. Next, we'll move on to proclamations. This is a proclamation of a honor that occurs here just this year, 2026, as the 250th anniversary of the United States of Oregon. The United States of America. What a wonderful faux pas that was, huh? And before we go over and the full board reads the proclamation in different parts, I want to share that this is our semi-quintennial. And I had the opportunity during the course of last year to receive an invitation from a wonderful person, Tim Rivas, a transportation planner in Washington County, Arkansas, who through a trip that he was taking with his family from Arkansas over, and you can see it right here on the map, eastward through other states, he went out of his way to go and see other Washington counties and other states. So what he did, he took it upon himself, his own initiative, to contact each of the counties in our state, and we have one parish in Louisiana that are named after George Washington. And he pulled us all together for a meeting and explained that he was not born during our bicentennial celebration in 1976, where I was all of 16 years old myself, and that he did not foresee that he would be alive for the 300th anniversary. So this, for many generations, is a significant event here in our country. So I did a little organizing here in Washington County through our mayors and our Visitors Association, explored Tualatin Valley, and with Grace Zarpak's, my staff assistant, help, we have for you today this proclamation. So first off, thank you to Tim Rivas out there in Arkansas. I know he was trying to tune into this meeting today. So we're going to move forward with reading the proclamation for hopeful adoption here from the Washington County Board of Commissioners, Washington County, Oregon Board of Commissioners. So I will start. Proclamation, Board of Commissioners for Washington County, Oregon. A proclamation in honor of our nation's semi-quincentennial. Whereas George Washington served as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army from 1775 to 1783 and served as the first president of our nation from 1789 to 1797, serving 2 terms, and exemplified the qualities of leadership, integrity, vision, and dedication to the principles of liberty and democracy vital to the formation of our republic. And whereas on the evening of July 9th, 1776, General Washington ordered the assembly of thousands of Continental soldiers to hear the first reading of the pivotal document we now know as the Declaration of Independence, which would serve as the unifying principle guiding the Army's operations throughout the Revolutionary War. And whereas prior to and during his presidential terms, Washington oversaw the formation of the first U.S. Congress, the ratification of the U.S. Constitution in 1787, which established the government structure and fundamental rights for citizens of the United States. And
whereas George Washington championed a vision of cohesive leadership by separating the powers of the federal government into three distinct branches, ensuring that American Republic remained free from the vestiges of monarchy and forever charting the course of our national government. And whereas Washington County, Oregon was incorporated as a county in 1843, and whereas Washington County's history reflects many generations of people who have lived, worked, and stewarded this land, contributing to the county's growth, culture, and civic life over time. And whereas there are 31 counties and one parish in our United States named after George Washington, and whereas his enduring legacy is honored by the many communities across the United States that bear his name, including the 31 counties in the United States known as Washington County. And
whereas counties named for George Washington across the nation are joining together through the Washingtons Unite collaboration to commemorate the 250th anniversary, share recognition of our namesake, and contribute to the national celebration. And whereas calendar year 2026 is the 250th celebration of the birth of the United States of America, known as semi-quincentennial, and is an opportunity to celebrate our nation's founding, reflect upon our shared values, and renew our commitment to building a stronger and more united future for all Americans. And whereas the 250th anniversary of the United States of America also provides an opportunity to reflect upon the nation's full and complex history, including the many peoples, communities, and experiences that have shaped our country over time, and to recognize that the ideals set forth at the nation's founding have been realized unevenly across generations. And whereas the America 250 Oregon Commission was created through Senate Bill 1531, which was signed into law by Governor Tina Kotek on March 27, 2024, and
whereas the America 250 Oregon Commission is chaired by one of Oregon's most respected public stewards, the Oregon Historical Society's Executive Director, Carrie Timchek, and whereas the Commission will coordinate and provide guidance for Oregon's official observances of the United States semi-quincentennial, and whereas the America 250 Oregon Commission established guideposts to inspire Oregonians to participate in the work of forming a more perfect union, to highlight the importance of civics and history education in building a better future, to highlight the work of Oregon's many history and heritage organizations, to encourage a robust, thorough, and honest examination of our collective history, to celebrate the unique traditions, arts, and cultures of communities throughout Oregon, to honor the service and sacrifice made by Oregon's veterans, to celebrate the power of place through Oregon's remarkable landscapes and scenic beauty, and whereas this collaboration highlights the unique role of counties and cities as the level of government closest to the people and demonstrates the power of partnership in honoring our history and strengthening our democracy.
now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County, Oregon Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim 2026 as the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, and encourages interested employees and their families to consider participating in the Washington County government entry in the Hillsborough Parade on July 4th, 2026, and observe this year with appropriate programs, activities, and reflections that can be found at oregon.250@ohs.org and america250.org. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution shall be shared with the National Association of Counties, NACO, the Association of Oregon Counties, AOC, area local governments, fellow Washington counties, and other partners engaged in the America 250 celebration. And with that, we have a map projected on our screens that show you all the different Washington counties, including one parish named after George Washington. And with that, I would call for a motion to adopt today's proclamation as read.
I move to adopt the proclamation in the spirit of supporting our country and the values that we all hold.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. And Commissioners here in the room, as well as all Washington County employees, if you could join us down on the floor for a photo opportunity, that would be wonderful. Thank you. So off camera, we were teasing one another, say semi-quincentennial 3 times really fast. Whew, that's a tongue twister. All righty. Next, we will move on to our public hearings. We have one public hearing today. Do we have a motion to read this ordinance by title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. Over to you, Mr. Barnett. Could you please read this ordinance by title only?
Certainly, Chair. A-Engrossed Ordinance Number 909, an ordinance amending the Washington County Cornelius Urban Planning Area Agreement, an element of the Washington County Comprehensive Plan.
Over to you, staff, for a staff report.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. Teresa Cherniak, Community Planning Section Manager. Michelle Miller will give the presentation.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Michelle Miller, Senior Planner in Community Planning. Today I'm sharing with you the presentation on A-Engrossed Ordinance Number 909, the County Cornelius Urban Planning Area Agreement. So in your board materials, you will find the amendments to the Washington County Cornelius UPAA and map. At the last hearing, January 6th, we reviewed the background and details about the amendments. Some of the key provisions found in the UPAA include new language related to transportation planning coordination and some minor changes for coordination processes in the urban planning areas. We've added a timeline and a process for when changes are proposed to the urban planning area itself, And then we've replaced the UPAA map with a new map that reflects the changes that have occurred since 1988. So this is Exhibit A, the UPAA map. The red circled areas identify the map changes that this board approved at the January 6th hearing for engrossment. At the January 6th public hearing, the board directed engrossment, and today's hearing is the first of 2 required hearings for that engrossed ordinance. And the second required hearing is scheduled for February 24th, when the board may make a decision on this issue. And with that, the staff recommendation is to conduct the first hearing for A-Engrossed Ordinance number 909 and continue the hearing to February 24th, where you may make your decision.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Any commissioner questions? All righty. So with that, I'm going to open a public hearing and ask our board clerk if there's anyone who wishes to testify during this public hearing.
There's no one that signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone in the auditorium wishing to speak on the staff report just presented? Please raise your hand. Dale, feel free to come help. Mr. Dale Feek.
Chair Harrington and Commissioners, Dale Feek. After reviewing the item listed in the work session, I had a chance to review that. And this is particularly Forest Grove and Cornelius. You know, I live in Forest Grove. And this is something just nice to happen. It needs to be updated. I'm in support of it. That's my public testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Board clerk, anyone else?
Is there anyone else in the auditorium who wishes to make public comment on the staff report we just heard? No? Is there anyone online who wishes to make public comment? I'm not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
No one online even. All righty, and with that, I will close today's public hearing and ask for, unless there are board questions, I would ask for a motion to continue the public hearing to February 24th, 2026.
I move to continue the public hearing to February 24th, 2026.
Second?
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. Thank you, staff. We'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. All right, that brings us to our second public comment period for today's meeting. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and address the Board of Commissioners on any topic you would like for up to 5 minutes, an individual 30 minutes maximum. Board Clerk, do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
Yes, Chair Harrington. The first 2 will be Megan Hill and Jeff Ford.
Welcome. Go ahead, Ms. Hill, as soon as you sit down.
My name is Megan Hill, and I serve as the board president for the Oak Hills Homeowners Association, representing more than 650 homes and families located just steps from the proposed Cornell Road Transitional Housing Facility. I'm also a survivor of long-term sexual abuse. This abuse occurred during several of my formative years. As a child, I told 2 medical professionals, the very people entrusted with my safety. Neither follow mandatory reporting laws. Nothing happened. My abuse was effectively swept under the rug. It took years of fear, confusion, shame, self-blame, therapy, lots of therapy, and turmoil before it was finally addressed. That failure did not just harm me, it taught me a devastating lesson. Institutions often protect systems before they protect victims. That lesson is why I am sitting here today. This is not theoretical for me. This is not academic. This is personal. I'm hurt, I'm angry, I'm heartbroken, and I'm deeply alarmed. Because I, along with many concerned community members, have come before our elected officials, the people entrusted to represent your constituents, seeking dialogue, safeguards, and partnership. Instead, I feel as though we've been dismissed, we've been criticized, we've been devalued. You may say this is not your intent, but it is the impact, and the impact is what matters. Our lived experiences are real. My home, my personal home address, is not listed on the county tax records because the county itself approved that redaction based on a sexual abuse survivor living at that address who feared that the perpetrator would be able to locate us. My abuse does not define me. Yes, I am a survivor. I am also an advocate, a champion, a wife, a mom, a daughter, a friend, and a fierce defender of what's right, even when it's uncomfortable and when I'm standing alone or sitting. My experience is something that I live with every single day, and it has shaped my values, so I need you to hear this clearly. I am fighting a county government that acknowledges my fear enough to hide my address while simultaneously telling my community that no safeguards are appropriate for a facility being placed right next to our homes. I'm fighting a county that says background checks are unnecessary, that categorical exclusions are inappropriate, that eligibility standards cannot include screening, that community concerns are secondary. I'm fighting for myself, my neighbors, for survivors. I'm fighting for the children in our community. I'm fighting for the people who deserve to live in peace inside the homes that we worked our entire lives to afford. We are not asking for perfection. We are not asking for zero risk. We're asking for reasonable, layered, transparent safeguards, the same safeguards that exist in schools, the same safeguards that exist in youth programs, the same safeguards that exist in healthcare, the same safeguards that exist in employment. So I ask you, why is housing the only context where safeguards suddenly become unacceptable? Why must victims accept risk in silence? Why are survivors expected to, quote unquote, trust the process when we learned the hard way that the process failed? When you tell us there will be no background checks, there will be no categorical exclusions, there will be no screenings, what we hear is your lived experience doesn't actually matter. Your fear is inconvenient and your safety is negotiable. Simply put, I refuse to accept that. I believe in recovery. I believe in second chances. I believe that people can change. I also believe in protecting communities. These beliefs are not mutually exclusive. They never have been. Real compassion includes accountability. Real recovery includes structure. Real public service includes listening. This county can choose a different path, a path that says we care about housing people and we care about protecting our neighbors. A path that says we will design programs responsibly, we will use layered safeguards, we will be transparent, we will partner with the community. I'm asking you to choose that path because this is not just policy. This is not just a project. This is people's lives. This is my life. This is the life of my children. And I'm asking, as a survivor and Chair Harrington, as your constituent, to please do better.
Thank you. Mr. Ford?
My name is Jeff Four. I'm a resident of Oak Hills and a representative of a community of approximately 650 households directly adjacent to the proposed Cornell Road transitional housing site. The Good Neighbor Agreement process as currently structured does not reflect an authentic desire to partner with the community. It functions as a check-the-box exercise, and it is failing. Not because neighbors are being difficult, not because people are unwilling to engage, but because the county has not provided the foundational information required for meaningful participation. At the January 15th Good Neighbor Agreement meeting, we were told there is no finalized operations contract with the service provider. Staffing ratios, behavioral health staffing, eligibility criteria, relapse protocols, and enforcement mechanisms are still being developed. The operations contract will not be finalized until roughly 4 months before opening. Yet at the same time, the county continues to issue definitive public statements about safety, security, and eligibility. Those two realities cannot coexist. At that same meeting, Helping Hands described the program as high barrier, while the county staff described it as low barrier. We were told sexual offenders can live at the facility. We were told background checks would not be conducted. We were told there will be no categorical exclusions. When asked how high-risk individuals would be prevented from being housed at the site, we were told we will be working with corrections and other partners. When asked how is that possible without background checks, the response was, this is something we will work with our partners on. That's not a policy. That is not a standard. That is not an enforceable safeguard. The county's January FAQ now states plainly there will not be background checks as part of this program, and there will not be categorical exclusions based on a person's background. For months, residents were told these limitations were imposed by Metro or supportive housing services funding. We have since learned that is not true. We are now being told informally that this is based on county policy. No such written policy has been produced. If this is a county policy, it should be simple to provide. Instead, residents are expected to participate in good neighbor agreement process while the most critical decisions have already been declared off limits. We are also asking the county to be transparent with a narrative. The summary that was distributed after the January 15th meeting is not representative of the tone, content, or level of concern expressed in that room. It presents the meeting as a collaborative and constructive. The lived experience in that room was frustration, confusion, and alarm. Many critical questions went unanswered. People left early due to lack of confidence in the process. What was publicly presented feels sanitized and misleading. That perception matches the pattern we have experienced throughout this process. This is not a collaboration, that's choreography. This matters because the risks of being, the risks being discussed are not hypothetical. Oregon has one of the highest rates of registered sex offenders in the nation, approximately 790 per 100,000 residents. Applied to Washington County's population of roughly 624,000, that equates to about 4,900 registered sex offenders. Data also shows Oregon's rate of child sexual abuse is approximately 144 victims per 100,000. Using typical population proportion, that translates to more than 200 children in Washington County experiencing sexual abuse in a single year. Roughly 2 to 3.5% of released sex offenders are reconvicted for a new crime within 3 years. Studies show a 7.7% rearrest rate for rape or sexual assault victims within 9 years. These statistics represent real victims, real families, and lifelong harm. Acknowledging these facts is not fear-based, it's responsible. It is exactly why communities responsibly, communities responsibly expect clear eligibility standards, layered screening, transparent referral criteria, written enforcement protocols, defined consequences. At the January 15th meeting, we were also told the Good Neighbor Agreement is not legally enforceable. Not every community request will be honored. Meanwhile, we are repeatedly told that all the information we are requested is public. So we ask, where's the written eligibility policy? Where is the written referral criteria? Where are the written exclusion standards? Where are the draft operational requirements? Where is the county policy that prohibits safeguards? Without these, the GNA process cannot function as advertised. We are not asking to stop this project. We are asking you as elected officials to do your job. Direct staff to produce the actual written policies, direct staff to release draft operational standards, hold a board-level work session to examine these issues on the record, not in 2 minutes, not in 5 minutes, not through filtered summaries, not through talking points, but through transparent, documented, accountable discussion. We are your constituents. Please instruct your staff to work with us, not around us.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else during this public comment section?
We do. The next two will be Jill Latre and Mary Hokiopoulos.
Go ahead, Ms. Latre.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Jill Latre. I've been a resident of Washington County for over 30 years. On February 26, 2025, Willamette Week quoted both Governor Kotek and Secretary of State Reed regarding non-citizens who were illegally registered to vote by the Oregon Motor Voter Program. The program had been paused in October of 2024 and was beginning again. Governor Kotek stated, "Last fall, I called for a series of actions to address the data errors in the Oregon Motor Voter Program, which the Oregon DMV has and will continue to implement." Secretary of State Reed said, "The new protections we are adding today will help us catch and fix government data entry errors faster." In July 2025, the results of an independent audit of the Oregon Motor Voter Program by Baker Tilly were released. To analyze the findings and recommend revisions to the Oregon Administrative Rules, a Rules Advisory Committee, RAC, was formed. RAC members included the Oregon Election Director and Manager, 2 analysts, an Oregon clerk, and 3 other partner organizations. I virtually attended the RAC meetings from October through November of 2025, which you may view using the link provided. Contrary to the statements made by our Governor and Secretary of State, the information shared in these meetings made it clear that even though the program had been restarted and new administrative rules were put into effect yesterday, all the non-citizens previously registered to vote have not been identified and removed from the voter rolls. The new rules still allow those non-citizens to remain on the voter rolls, and more non-citizens will continue to be illegally registered to vote. I will share some of the many concerns RAC members expressed during the meetings. An unknown number of non-citizens have been mistakenly registered to vote. Non-citizens mistakenly registered are not discovered during most covered transactions. Most transactions do not require any proof of citizenship. Only real ID transactions require citizenship documentation. Individuals were miscoded as C, citizen. We don't have those scans readily available. There's a higher chance we would miss that error and it wouldn't get corrected. We don't know the number of legacy records, and we are working with the DMV now to try and identify that. When this whole situation started, I think it started with a couple hundred, and then it just kept snowballing, and there were more and more and more and more people. I, a DMV technician, am not qualified to determine if a person is eligible to vote. It is uncomfortable to ask if a person is a citizen. That is private information. Too many others in DMV offices can hear the conversation. Providing a written notification of registration receipt post the transaction, once a transaction is complete with the DMV, defeats the whole purpose. People will be registered and have no idea that that is happening. Non-qualified individuals will be registered. Some people don't want to be registered to vote. However, there is no opt-out option. To decline registration, after the registration process has been initiated, one must wait for the notification mailer from the Secretary of State's printing vendor, choose the opt-out option, and return the notification within the time frame, or the person will be registered. Individuals may say they're not qualified to avoid being registered. We all agree the current information being presented to voters is insufficient across the boards. There are many issues that need to be resolved. We have to figure out a way to move forward and meet the requirements. These statements, along with the admission from the DOJ, Oregon Governor, Attorney General, and the Secretary of State, make it evident that non-qualified non-citizens have been illegally registered, have voted, are still on the voter rolls, and are sent ballots. The newly adopted rules will still illegally register non-qualified individuals. Registration requirements are outlined in the statutes. DMV technicians must see proof of citizenship, age, and residency documentation. The newly adopted rules state that these apparently qualified will be registered. Documentation must be verified by the technician. When the non-qualified non-citizen votes, it dilutes the vote of a qualified voter. The Oregon Motor Voter Program, past, present, and future, results in disenfranchising voters. we request Washington County utilize home rule and return the responsibility of registering individuals and maintaining voter rolls to our county, ensuring only qualified individuals are registered, receive ballots, and vote. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Mary Halkiopoulos, a 24-year resident of Washington County. How many centenarians do we have in Oregon? That is, people who are 100 years of age and older. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, about 24 out of every 100,000 people nationwide are centenarians. Well, what does that mean for Oregon and for Washington County? First, we need to determine the population of both. According to PSU's Population Research Center certified data for 2025, Oregon's total population was about 4,309,810, and Washington County's population was about 618,037. Based on these numbers, we should expect to see about 1,034 centenarians statewide and 148 centenarians in Washington County. When we reviewed our recently accessed January 5th voter rolls, we found 361 centenarians in Washington County alone. That's people born in 1925 or before. That is about 2.5 times the number we should expect to see for the county and 1/3 of what we expect to see for the whole state. Here are our preliminary findings. Of the 361 centenarians in Washington County, 133 had an active voter status, 228 had an inactive voter status. Of the 133 active voters, 16 are deceased certifiably, 29 have not cast a ballot in at least 10 years, 7 were updated to active after they died. As you may recall from last week's testimony, Secretary of State Tobias Reed assured us that for an inactive voter to become active, quote, you'd reach out to your county elections official and say, I need to reactivate myself. Did these 7 deceased people ask to be reactivated? I was shocked to find this very thing happened to one of my extended family members, who was much younger, by the way. She passed away in July 2014, was changed to inactive and left on the rolls, then changed to active again in December of 2021 and began receiving ballots. I can assure you she did not reach out to anyone. Her family couldn't understand why they started receiving ballots for her, and when I explained that her record had been activated, they felt a sense of personal violation on her behalf. Getting back to the centenarians, we've taken a brief look at the active voters. Now let's look at the inactive voters. Of the 228 inactive voters, 52 are deceased from as far back as 2011 on the current voter rolls. 132 have not cast a ballot in at least 10 years. One shows a ballot cast for her on 2 occasions after death. And remember, this is someone whose status is inactive. As I mentioned previously, these are preliminary findings. We have more work to do. Yet these initial results involving only these 361 voter records demonstrate the disastrous state of our voter rolls. A larger study of voter records yielded similar results, and we reported those results to this board a year ago. Whoever wins the battle over voter rolls, the Secretary of State or the federal government, the citizens and taxpayers of Washington County want and deserve accuracy in our voter rolls and in our elections. This can only begin to occur if our county gets local control of both. We continue to encourage you to exercise home rule to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Hodges, anyone else?
We had one sign up via Zoom, Deanna Johnson. Ms. Johnson, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead for up to 5 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you. Greetings to the Board of Commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to highlight, now that we're in a new year, the need for ongoing emergency assistance when it comes to water and sewer in Washington County. When comparing rates for water and sewer with our neighboring county, Multnomah, we have 2 separate base fees, while Portland customers only have 1. I only bring that up because the water that I drink via Tualatin Valley Water comes from City of Portland. On top of that, the water price they charge is like 5 times more than what they buy wholesale from City of Portland. I know that I mentioned in previous testimony that they also introduced a 20% discount back in 2024. That was immediately after they raised rates 20% and then offered a 20% discount for low-income customers. I'd also like to highlight the fact that they've also implemented another rate increase this past November of 2025, and they've approved another one for themselves this year in 2026. I also had a chance to speak with Clean Water Services. They were generous enough to reach out to me, their public relations person and their CFO, to talk about their billing feasibility. And one of the ideas that I came up with when brainstorming, that since their billing is not going to be done anytime soon, is what if they were to just contribute or donate some emergency funds to community action? I know that Tualatin Valley has their emergency fund, but it's kind of convoluted and it only applies to the water side of their bill. Again, CWS doesn't have any type of funds to help out customers that are experiencing hardships. I just kind of highly feel that, because they don't have their billing set up, that still should not impede any assistance that they can start providing immediately to Washington County residents. Lastly, I just want to mention how I'm thankful for this opportunity and I heed my time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I just want to make sure we're clear. The drinking water, as you mentioned, you are a customer of Tualatin Valley Water District. That is a separate municipal entity with its own independently elected board of directors. So you would need to speak with them, that board of directors, with your comments, with more information at tvwd.org. With regard to sewer rates, that is a separate municipal entity, Clean Water Services. They have separate board of directors meetings, and you can find further information about those meetings at cleanwaterservices.org. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else today?
That is the last of our signups. Is there anyone in the auditorium who wishes to make public comment for up to 5 minutes? Not seeing any hands. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to provide comment for up to 5 minutes? Please use the raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you. That closes our second public comment period for today's meeting, and now we're moving on to board announcements. I have the following as announcements for the Washington County Board of Commissioners and the Clean Water Services Board of Directors. This Thursday, February 5th, 2026, the Washington County Board of Commissioners will have a roundtable meeting starting at 9 a.m. On Friday, February 6th, the Clean Water Services Board of Directors will have an all-day work session starting at 9 a.m. You can find further notice on the location and topics of that in the board packet. On Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, the Clean Water Services Board of Directors will have a meeting here at 9 a.m. Following that, there will be a Clean Water Services Board of Directors meeting. Then after that, we're hoping by 11:15 that the Washington County Board of Commissioners will convene in a work session starting at 11:15. On Tuesday, February 17th, we'll have a Washington County Board of Commissioners work session starting at 9. We'll pause that, have a board business meeting at 10, then reconvene in work session after that. I will not be at that meeting. Vice Chair Willie is expected to be remote in that meeting, so I'm asking Commissioner Jason Snyder to serve as pro tem to foster those two meetings in the room. On Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, The Washington County Board of Commissioners will have a work session from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. or no later than 5 p.m. Then we'll have a dinner break, then a Clean Water Services Board of Directors business meeting at 5:30 p.m., followed by a Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting at 6:30 p.m. And that fills out the month of February. Are there any other Board of Commissioner announcements for today? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn today's regular business meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 4-0. We will reconvene in work session, time certain, 1 p.m. Thank you.